The EP Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at theeppodcast.com.
It's the EP Podcast. My name is Chris Lanuti. This episode out a little bit later in the day. There were two reasons for that. First one is our second guest of this episode. We go to the record store on 95th, and they were doing a live stream of the interview, which happened on Tuesday morning, which delayed the release of the show. But I don't really blame them. It was a convenient thing for me because Monday was a mess. Actually, from like midday Sunday all through Monday. I'm not going to get into the exact details, but a very close loved one was in the hospital. And unfortunately, the ambulance took her to Christ Hospital instead of Little Company of Mary. Like, I work with Little Company of Mary. There's a reason why I work with them. Like, they're a great hospital. We're lucky to have them in Evergreen Park. Christ is like a third world country these days inside of the ER. Like, I've been to foreign hospitals and I've said, wow, this is terrible. And then I went to Christ this weekend and it was the same thing. Like, it should have been 2-3 hours max. It was almost 24 hours with my loved one in a hallway and people continuously forgetting what the last person that was taking care of her did or didn't do. Don't leave your family members alone in there. And again, take my advice. Like, there's a reason why I work with Little Company of Mary. They're awesome. Another group that I love to work with, the First National Bank of Evergreen Park. Get that total access checking account, free ATMs nationwide, $300 bonus with qualifying activities, mobile banking tools, award-winning customer service. Switch to a true community bank right now. It has never been easier. Plus, there's no overdraft fees. Start now by getting into the First National Bank of Evergreen Park in that iconic building on the corner of 95th and Pulaski. Member FDIC. Joining me here on the EP Podcast, I have Megan Schillo from Evergreen Park Community High School, and she does something very interesting that I did not know. I didn't know this existed. She is the director of curriculum for the high school. How are you, Megan?
I'm good.
So how much does curriculum actually change year to year at a school? Because it seems to me like you get the tried and true, and then you just kind of like get in that lane and you go.
So this is my second year as director of curriculum at Evergreen. And it's not as straightforward. We're constantly evaluating our curriculum. We're constantly looking at the needs of our students and adjusting based on that. And the 5 new courses that we have going into next year are almost a response to some of the student interest and some of the student needs.
Do things get dropped? Do you get to the end of a year and you go, I don't know if this course makes any more sense? Or like, do you get to a point where like, this was good for the last 20 years, but the world has changed? Is that also part of the job?
It is and it isn't, because really it's student registration drives that. So a course will pretty much stay on the books, but whether or not it runs is dictated by the student population.
Oh, so they get a lot of choice.
They do get a lot of choice.
See, because I remember when I went to high school, like, I don't think I really got a lot of choice until I was like an upperclassman. I think the first couple of years was basically like, okay, you're on this track. Like, I was an honors student, so it was like, you're on honors track, so these are your classes, you're done. I don't think I even got an elective the first couple of years because I was in the marching band, and that was the class that was my elective. So I never felt like I had a lot of choice till I got older. Then I got a couple of choices right towards the end. These kids seem like they have like a lot more options.
We're definitely looking at how we can get some of our younger students more options as pathways, and students are interested in different things after high school, from career to trades to college. They're not all college bound, so we've been definitely integrating some of those opportunities for our non-college bound students, but also you'll see our college bound students upping our AP opportunities for our students. We're looking to meet the needs of all our kids.
Yeah, I think that's interesting about Evergreen Park Community High School. It's a difference between your school and some of the private schools in the area, because I've had an experience with some of the private schools in the area, and it always feels like their thing is college. That's it. It's just college. They want everybody to be accepted to at least one of them so they can say that everybody got accepted in one of them. They got those big giant boards when you walk into their school with all the different places that they were accepted to. It's all about the test, and if the test scores are high and if the acceptance is high, because that's what they're trying to drive is just that. And if that's not what the kid wants to do or is best suited for, it really doesn't match them as well. I mean, I've noticed that. I've kind of seen that Evergreen Park Community High School is, yes, you want to go to college, we're going to get you there. We're going to get you there. And Matt Dugan's been in here and he was talking about the idea of you want to get as much money as possible for the kid that's going to college to make college free or close to free by going out and getting all these advanced courses. You know, you have AP courses, college credit courses, all these different things. So you want to go and do that. But it's also, we don't want to forget the other kid. It's not about being able to sit there and say, everybody here went to college. It's everybody here had success afterwards. So when you're doing that, you're picking these new courses. Like I know that you're doing some internships or you have been doing internships for certain things. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the ones. I'm sure you have a few new ones that are around that track.
Okay, so we don't have any new ones for next year, but we've started some of the internships this year. Next semester, we have a student who is going to finish his day as a pharmacy tech. So they'll leave school and they go and they start an internship based on whatever their interest is.
And it's just one student.
Yeah, we have one student.
So one student who was interested in being a pharmacist. You guys set up a thing to make sure that kid could go do it.
Yes, we have two students who are currently in a construction internship. So they leave and they go to the construction site or to the office, depending on the day of the week. Next semester, we also have a student who will start with Kennedy Plumbing.
Okay.
And then we have a student who is going to Beverly Montessori to teach some of the pre-K students.
I mean, that's incredible to me because I don't picture a high school, saying we're going to tailor make something for one student. Right. I could see if it was like, we're going to do this program, we need 20 kids that want to take it. And if 20 kids are going to take it, then we're going to do it. And if we don't get 20 kids that are interested in it, we're not going to waste our time with it. And instead, you guys are saying, we have one kid in the school wants to be a pharmacist or has interest in it. We're going to set something up where they get to go and do that. I think that's incredible. I never had that choice or opportunity when I was that age.
Yeah, so that's initiated by the student, these professional internships. So the students that we just talked about, they initiated it with their counselor and they were able to establish a contact. And then we vet that and we ensure that it's a beneficial experience for our students. But one of our most popular internships is the education internship. We currently have 30 students taking that. And they are paired with any of our district feeder schools in 124. So they'll leave during our idea resource period and they'll go to that site for the remainder of the day. So that is part of the beauty of our Block 4 system, is that students have a larger chunk of time to leave school and to complete one of these internships.
And I love the idea that they can explore something at that age. Mm-hmm. Like we were talking beforehand. I have 3 kids. One of them is still in grammar school, but the other one's a junior in high school. And then I've got one that's a freshman in college. And the freshman in college, I feel fortunate that she knew exactly what she wanted to be when she was a sophomore. Like she's a sophomore in high school and she was like, I want to take every elective that helps me get to architecture. She was very art-based. She used to paint and she still does. And she creates and things like that. And I remember her sitting there saying, this is what I want to do. And I said, that's great. How do you make money doing that? Because she just was going to be an artist. And I'm like, what if you took this and threw this into something else? She discovers the idea of being an architectural engineer. She's been laser focused on it. I always worry like she's going to change her mind and have like a crisis on the whole thing. But right now, really into it, she knows what she wants. But a lot of kids don't know what they want. A lot of them don't know until they're halfway through their college career. Like I was in general studies. The first half of my time at the University of Illinois, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to be. I have friends of mine who changed their majors, and it's because when you're in high school, you really don't get a chance to explore things. So I think this is really cool that you guys have it set up like they can go explore, because I would imagine if your pharmacy student came to you at the end of that semester and said, I don't like this, you just let that person move on to something else, right?
Right. I mean, that's ideally the opportunity is they're exploring something before they commit to a certain college or to a certain program. So they're exploring it before they even leave high school. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, right now at school, our sophomores are at an elective fair. So they're being exposed to all the different electives that we have so that they can try something out that they're interested in before they're making that commitment or before they're going into choosing a college or a career.
What is new coming up next year?
So our first course is Introduction to HVAC, and that's in our Industrial Technology department. Next, we have Advanced Strength and Conditioning in PE. And then we have 2 in social studies, Chicago history and AP world history. And then finally, we have a math edition, geometry in construction.
Okay, so geometry and construction in the first one, the HVAC, sounds similar to those internship programs. They're not internships though, right? They're more, this is a course to get you ready if you're interested in HVAC.
Absolutely, yeah. So they are full courses.
Yeah, I mean, the geometry thing scares me because I was terrible in math. But also I could see, like, that's geometry used for construction. And I would imagine somebody like my daughter who had the mind of, I want to get as much as I can before I get to school that would have me dealing with architecture and design and things like that. She might have looked at that and said, that's an interesting course that I want to look at. I want to see how that all works. The HVAC thing's interesting to me because I see so many people opening up HVAC businesses. It seems to be a growing field. You have somebody not going off to college and wants to make good money. That's an interesting one to go and take a look at, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that course focuses on introducing the students to the fundamentals of heating and cooling systems. It's all about getting familiar with the basic concepts behind how these systems work, providing an accessible entry point for anyone who's interested in exploring HVAC as a career or gaining practical real-world knowledge. So it's absolutely like that stepping stone for students who are interested in that trade.
The one that I think is fun is Chicago history because I took that. Mm-hmm. See, I took that. That's one that, like, I don't know if that helps you. Like, we keep talking about the things that get you like a job and, you know, what you're going to do. That's more of just like the fun one. Like, I was a history minor. Like, my degree is in broadcast journalism, but I took a history minor and I always loved history. And when I got a chance for an elective in high school, I always grabbed them. Chicago history is one of the more interesting things. They don't realize how interesting the city itself is. And I'm always able to pull out little nuggets like, you know, all those buildings got raised by jacks. Like, I will tell people that, like, people sat around all the downtown buildings and jacked the buildings up to get them at a higher level because of the water and flooding in downtown. So all those buildings are elevated, and the ones that are older had to be moved up a level. And if you go to Hubbard Street down by the river, there's a couple of buildings there where if you go down to the sub-basement, it opens up and underneath the street is what the street used to be. The old street is still there with some of the storefronts and mannequins from like the 1910s still sitting down there in the darkness underneath the streets. And people don't understand the interesting things that the city was built upon. It's so much fun to learn. That's a great course.
Yeah, our students, right now, they really only have human geography and U.S. history. So we wanted to provide them some more electives, and this is one that students have shown an interest in. The course dives into Chicago's rich and dynamic history, like you've just mentioned, and we're excited for them to kind of understand how their home connects to the broader scope of U.S. history.
You learn an awful lot about just the country as well,
right?
Because Chicago is such a focal point. Especially, you know, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, Chicago was one of the main hubs of the entire country. If it was happening here, it was happening in New York as well. And there were so many different advancements. It's a really interesting thing to study this city. And then you talk about the AP World History. Again, like I said, I was a history buff. That's a great course to knock out before you get to college. Get it knocked out at Evergreen Park before you get there and do world history at a college level. Because you go to college level, you take that course. That course is taught in a giant auditorium. You get a TA that you talk to. You never get to talk to the professor. It's massive tests, and you're kind of like just a blip on the radar that could get left behind. You take it over here at the high school, you get the credit. You don't have to go do that crazy course later on. The kid has a better chance at a high-level course, I would think.
Yeah, this is one of those courses that is truly student-driven. They've asked for this course. We currently have a student who's taking it independent study, and he'll be taking the test through us in May. But we're looking, again, to just broaden our AP opportunities for our students, and this puts us at 20 AP choices for our students, so we're excited about it.
Yeah, you know, I would imagine that every year you probably get hit up with ideas, right? I mean, do they come from the students or the parents more, or is it the teachers?
Both students and teachers.
Okay.
We have more that are student driven and more that our teachers are responding to the students that they're seeing in front of them. So it's definitely a mix of both.
I would say that one of the more interesting things here before I let you go about this school system, and I've said this about District 124 as well, is the idea that somebody's actually listening when somebody says I would like this or I need this or this needs to be changed, because I don't think that happens in schools around the country. I'm sure that does not happen in our neighbor that surrounds us on three sides, Chicago. Okay. And here I feel like you guys you're walking the hallways. You're trying to make sure that you understand what's going on with the kids. I mean, I just had your assistant principal on talking about what it's like to be a dean and how you communicate with the kids. There's a lot of communication to try to figure out what the kids want. And what you find in that is you find students that otherwise might have been passed over, might have been 4 years and done a really good job there, but you didn't tap that potential. And now you see kids that are like, I want to go do this. And you're like, we can figure this out for you and help you with it. And that must be rewarding to you.
It definitely is. And the more student voice that we provide, the more they're teaching us and giving us ideas for how we can strengthen our school and how we can broaden our opportunities for kids. So we're always listening. And our last course that I don't think we had a chance to talk about was the most student-driven course. We have over 250 students currently in strength and conditioning.
See, that's why it wasn't me. Do I look like a guy who does the strength and conditioning? No, I don't. No, I'm not doing this. That's crazy. Like, I had no interest in that course. I was like, oh, strength and conditioning. That sounds like hard work. I don't want to do that.
Kids, I think, initially thought it was for athletes, but we've seen a lot of students who aren't necessarily athletes thrive in the course. And we currently have over 250 students taking it.
Wow.
And they asked for the next level. So we added advanced strength and conditioning for those students, but also for athletes. Students in our dance and cheer team, they just want more individualized training.
It feels like a gym membership. It feels like you've given the kids, like, it's a gym membership. It's like, okay, kids, study hard. Who's in the gym membership? You want to go? That's what it kind of feels like. But I mean, it sounds like it's a benefit. It's what the kids want. So that's awesome.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And we're here for them. So.
Very cool. Megan Schillo, wonderful job, first off, and also really interesting to listen to this stuff because I don't think people realize this is the kind of care, this is the kind of involvement that goes into day-to-day, year-to-year life over at Evergreen Park Community High School. The Director of Curriculum, Megan Schillo. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Chris.
Building relationships, supporting the community, and service. These are the things that Country Financial stands for. They're more than just an office you may pass by as you drive through Evergreen Park. They're neighbors who lend a helping hand and support the fabric of your community, including charitable organizations, sports, financial education, and civic organizations. And since Country is already your neighbor, they want to get together and chat. Call your local Country Financial representative, Mike Thauer, today at 708-425-1559 to talk about the things that are important to you and how he can help you protect them. It is now time for EP Podcast Word on the Street, brought to you by Spoken Vine Wine Bar and Bottle Shop, northeast corner of 95th and Kedzie. Incredible wines, so many of them. Great small plates, 21 and over, and the perfect spot to not only wind down after a day of shopping during the holiday season, but maybe pick up a couple of gifts in the wine shop. See more at SpokenVineWines.com. This is the final week for yard waste bin pickup and curbside leaf pickup. So shoot those leaves out into the street now or forever hold your leaves. Remember, they want you to put it in the yard waste bin first or yard waste bags before putting your leaves in the street, on the curb, not in the middle of the street. The Office of Citizen Services is having their Senior Council Luncheon on December the 19th. Mark your calendars. This happens on the third Thursday of each month. 11 a.m. start time, short business meeting, then a guest speaker, a catered lunch, entertainment. Vito Zotto is going to be the entertainment, Vegas-style singing and comedy. Baked ham is the lunch, and tickets are $10. Get those tickets at the Office of Citizen Services by December the 13th. By the way, that's over at 3450 West 97th Street in the Community Center, where they also have indoor walking to keep the seniors moving Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7 to 8 a.m. If you want Santa to come to your house, your party, as long as it is Evergreen Park, it has to be your Evergreen Park home. Reach out now and get a 20-minute visit with Santa scheduled between the hours of 5 and 9 p.m. These are weekend visits. There's also Christmas Eve appointments. Call 708-229-3373. And the youth department is having open gym basketball and volleyball nights. They are at the Maple Wells Center, 3450 West Maple. It's a $5 entry fee, and there's an emergency form that you have to sign. For more information, call 708-229-3377. Now we head out to 95th Street and a brand new record store you're gonna love. It's right here on the EP Podcast. The EP Podcast out at a brand new business here in Evergreen Park, one that I'm really excited about, the Record Shop on 95th, and that's literally what they call it. They're on 95th Street. They are a record shop. This is a very difficult name. I'm sure it took hours for them to come up with it, and I had Jeff and Jessica with me. How are you both?
We are good.
Good. Awesome. So how long did it take to come up with the Record Shop on 95th? It's just kind of like you looked at it and you're like,
Weeks,
it's obvious?
days, months.
Yeah, days or months, that's true. I'll give you the background.
Go ahead, say why.
So growing up here, yes, I did grow up here in EP. So I literally went to Northwest, I went to Central, I went to EP High School. How this played out, growing up here, well, everything is where it's at and what it is. So you go to the Jewel on Pulaski, you go to, the pizza place on 87th. So we came up with the idea of very simply going Midwest on everybody and the Record Shop on 95th.
So you know what we do and where we're at.
Where you're at. I love that. Okay. And what's the exact address? Do you remember it? I know you're new. Do you remember it?
No, 3576 West 95th Street.
They're right across from the Pearl.
Literally across the street.
Like that's you say that about like that's how you identify things.
It's weird.
The Pearl has been there. The Pearl Vision on 95th has been for like 50 years.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for it, their address is across from the Pearl Vision on 95th.
Yep, which used to actually be next to what was Walgreens.
Right, it was a Walgreens.
Right, it was Walgreens. And before that, I'll go back further, Park Men's Shop.
Right.
So.
We all know what these things are, so this is where they're at. And so it's a neat little spot. And when we put the video out on the EP Podcast later on this week, you'll be able to get a look at the setup. I mean, it's really... I mean, I like record shops. I mean, I just did a thing for one of my other podcasts, Southside Pod, a couple months ago on Record Store Day and went around to a bunch of them on the South Side. And one of the things that I hated was that there wasn't one in Evergreen Park for me to feature because I got a record player from my sister for Christmas last year.
Awesome.
And it was a funny thing because I've never had a record player and I thought, what a weird thing to give me if I don't collect records. And she's like, but this is what happens. You're newly divorced and your family members try to find things for you to do because they're tired of listening to you. They're like, okay, I'm sick of listening to this. All he does is call me up and tell me about stuff because he's got nobody else to talk to. So I'm going to give him a hobby. We'll give him a record player. So now I've gone to record stores and I've looked around, and I think what I've learned is, first of all, it's odd. The new records are more expensive than a compact disc or getting the streaming thing, and I never thought that would be the case because you think to yourself, okay, sound quality, this is not going to be the same as digital, but the records themselves are pretty pricey.
Yes, well, go ahead. No, I'm going to let you jump into that.
Well, why are they pricey?
Why are they?
You like to describe why?
No, go ahead.
Oh my goodness.
Go ahead. I'm putting you on the spot.
It's okay.
No.
Go ahead.
Why are they pricey?
Go ahead.
Everything is
Everything's going up.
Right.
We use that excuse. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm not saying you in particular. I'm just saying I noticed like
general.
I saw like a brand new album came out and it was like a $40 album. Like $40. That's crazy for a
also
record.
the way that they're being pressed now too. So like Def Leppard, you like to use Def Leppard when you bought it in the 80s.
Yep.
It was a single, but it was this thing that you could flop.
Yeah, I remember the old records
and
that
it
did that.
made this weird sound. Now they're stretching it out so that it sounds better. Now you're getting a double disc, and it's going to catch everything that you never caught before.
So you get better audio quality because I did notice it. Like I got a Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, and so that's a brand new one. That's a newer band, and I got that. And you can hear the difference between the old AC/DC Black album that I picked up because I was like, this is essential. I have to have this. By the way, my weirdest selection so far. Like people have laughed at me that I bought this. was Huey Lewis in the News 4.
What's wrong with that?
People made
That's
fun of me.
awesome.
That is such a good album.
That has Jacob's Ladder on it. That is one of that.
Doing it all for my baby.
See, everybody always goes for sports.
Yeah, sports is always the big one.
But 4 was good.
No, 4 is the best one for me. Like that's the one I want.
4 is the best. I'll still go with sports, but that's okay.
I like that one. But I mean, like that. But like I find it funny because it makes me go back and get older, like artists. Like for me, record collecting. Like I know some people, they come in and they want to find something weird, or they just want to discover something. I know some people that do it and they're like, I just want to just grab this album and see if I can learn something new about a band because I'm going to listen to it back and forth.
Yep.
I'm one of those people that goes, okay, I'm buying this. How many of these songs do I like? So that's how I do things. I go, is this an album that I loved? And would I want to listen to it without having to skip? And that's how I buy it.
I'll interject to this. So I'm kind of going backwards to go forwards here. So the sound quality aspect of it is huge now. So if you're going digital, and a lot of people, and I will use your audience and probably a lot of people my age or even her age, that literally you heard in the 90s the word remastering. And they were stripping everything from an audio file, making it digital.
Right.
Now what they have to do is they actually have to make it again to an audio file. So anything that's being recorded is being recorded digitally, but then they have to audio file it so that it gets pressed on a vinyl.
Okay.
The sound quality in general is going to be better on an audio file than it would be on digital. And everybody goes, well, why? It's simplistic. It's the way that it is made. It is the way that it is pressed. So it will be as close as you are to being in the studio with your audience.
Well, I've noticed that with the newer ones. And again, that album I mentioned, the Nathaniel Rateliff album. What was cool about that one is that it's live.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so live music on a record player, for some reason, to me, is the best way to do it. Like I have a Johnny Cash one from like the 70s, and I just picked it up at a record shop, and it was like one of those things I was like, oh, look at this. It's like live Johnny Cash. It's got about 6-7 songs I like on it. I'm going to get that because I think the live ones are the ones that I go to the most when I'm exploring in a record shop.
Music is personal.
Yeah.
We say it all the time. I mean, there's people that can't stand picture discs, and there's people that's all that they want are the picture discs. Same thing with live. It's just about everybody hears music differently. I mean, he can pick up stuff that I won't hear at all, and then
You're using okay. So on YouTube, there's Dexy's Midnight Runners.
Okay.
Everybody remembers. Come on.
I love this, first of all. I love every time we go to a business and it's husband and wife.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think it's hysterical because they look at each other like, you
know.
Tell that thing, you know. Like, do that thing, you know. You drive me nuts with this, so tell the rest of the people the thing that you tell me all the time.
27 years.
Right, that's right.
Right.
So, I love this dynamic. This is awesome.
So the aspect of Dexy's Midnight Runners, we were watching an
Come on, Eileen. That's the one.
Eileen, the one everybody knows. Yeah. Well, there was a recent, it's probably now 3 or 4 years old.
3 or 4 years old, yeah.
But they recorded snippets of each process of Come On, Eileen, moving it from back in the 80s to the, about 2015, 18, whatever it was, 20.
More recent.
Yeah, more recent. And me personally, Jess can't hear it, but I can hear the progression of the acoustics in every part of it changing.
At the end,
amazing.
he's like, wow.
Did you hear
all
that?
I'm like, yeah, I heard the song. I know the song. It's a great song.
So when somebody comes in here, you're going to talk music with them. That's obvious to me. That you're going to understand it. You're going to get the album. You're going to sit there and you're going to kind of geek out with them and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Is that why you decided to do this? Like, I mean, I feel like anytime I meet somebody who's got a record shop, it's because of a love of music, a love of talking about music, and this is fun for you. This doesn't feel like a job.
I
say that when I say that to a small business owner, they're always like, "It's a job, Chris. I'm exhausted." Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Well, it is a job.
It is a job. We don't get to delegate to other people. This is everything is.
I do the same thing. Like I like doing this, but this is a job.
Exactly. We divide everything. Yeah. So the way that if you come in here, he gets all of this. He will geek out with you. He will talk all that. But whatever he doesn't know, I do.
Yep.
Right.
So I'm the one behind the counter, but I'm still the one that's taking care of all that. But I mean, music has always been a huge part of our lives.
So I'll go. You want to go backwards? You want to go backwards now?
Where do we meet?
Well, where does it
meet at a record shop?
Of course.
Of course.
It's either that or you met on 95th. It was one or the other.
No, we met at a record shop that I had worked at for years.
Yeah.
She came walking in as a customer, and one thing led to another. And going back to those days before texting, we literally passed notes back and forth to each other as I was working.
Well,
was it the ones that like you make into the little things and you open them up?
There were some of those.
Like yeah.
There were some
My
of
high
those.
school girlfriend used to do those for me. Yeah.
Well, I get to go on
the fortune
a
teller
date.
one.
Right? Yeah. That's kind of They were a lot of fun.
Do I like you?
You
make
make
me
me
do-
and that's exactly what happened. So it's great.
Hey, and it worked.
It did. 27 years later.
Right. So you meet in a record store. It's part of your vibe. And again, you're back in Evergreen Park, and you're across from the Pearl, and it's the record store on 95th. I did notice this looking around, and again, if you get to watch the video later on YouTube or see any of the clips we'll put up in Reels, it's kind of a neat spot. You got this big glowing sign behind you. There's music playing. But one of the things that I noticed that's different from other record stores,
Here
There you go, yep.
I know. Go ahead.
you're listing the records by price
Yes.
and not alphabetically or by genre.
Yes.
Why is that?
That's all you.
Music has kind of become a melting pot. When you have
Smash.
artists like Post Malone, who just came out with a brand new country album, where are you supposed to put it? You can still put it by alphabet, and you can still have Post, but in here you can come in and go, I can only spend $40 today. I'm going to listen to a bunch of music. What all can I buy?
Yep.
You never know. You're going to start flipping through. You're going to start finding stuff that either you completely forgot about, didn't know existed, or didn't even come in here thinking to look for.
That's
It's
the other
crazy
side.
how it is. We
Yeah.
get to see people that come in here and going, oh my God, my mom had this album. I forgot about it. But looking at the cover art is what always triggers that memory.
Yep.
It's weird.
Well, I like how you do it because this is how I shop for records. I shop by price.
Right.
Like, 'cause to me, it's like, okay, this is a hobby, but like, yeah, I'm not going to spend $200 in the record store. So I mean, like, so I want to flip and be like, oh God, this album's great, and then look at the price. We're like, that's a $50 album. We're not buying that.
Right.
Like, I want to come in sometimes and just collect. Like, I'm like, okay, I want to spend $30 and I want to buy 4.
Yep.
And I know what section I'm going to stand in if I'm going to go and do
That
that.
happens with the kids a lot. The kids a lot really, mom and dad, they'll save up their allowance, whatever it is. They'll have $20, maybe $40, so they can come in, but they know where they need to be. If they're looking for obviously some of the later stuff or the newer stuff, it's not necessarily going to fall in there. They might need to save up for an extra week or two, and that's the whole aspect of it.
But it's all inventory too. So if
Yeah.
you come in here and you're beelining for that one album, let us know. We'll tell you if we
we'll
have
find
it.
Right. Right. Okay, so the holidays coming up.
Yep.
You just heard that this is something my sister just came up with. Like, I'm getting you a record player, and I'm going to keep you busy because you got less to do now. Like that. Like that's. Like, yeah, I mean,
So when I hear we're going to see more of him.
Right. Well, I'm gonna stop because I've got the record player. I've got to add to the thing. But like, if somebody is watching this and either A, they're into records and like, okay, I got to go check this thing out, or B, let's say that they're not into it. Like, what would you recommend as we get towards the holidays? Like, what are you seeing in most of your shoppers? Like, what do they come in and look for? Kind of give me kind of a rundown of your typical record
Go ahead.
shop on 95th
Go
customer.
ahead.
No, so I'll kind of go this route with you so
Yeah.
that you can understand. So now it's for people that, are we asking people that aren't into this?
I'm curious about the people that aren't.
Okay.
And then you can tell me a little bit about the ones that are.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's perfect for me. So with the people that aren't, in other words, I'll just go back to mom and dad or grandma and grandpa that used to be into it, but don't understand why the kids are into it today.
Yeah.
Kids are into it now because of what we have said for many,
Yes.
many years. They've been holding a tablet in their hand their entire life, whether it was a real tablet, but now it's a cell phone. That's kind of how their lives are playing out. They also are moving so fast, they don't have time to slow down. This has made their time to actually take a moment and breathe.
You have to
They
wait
can
for
hold
that
it.
at record to end.
Yeah.
So that you can walk over and you can flip it over. So that's their moment to actually just sit
Focus.
down and focus and listen to the music, look at the artwork, and look at the lyrics and all the inserts that are in there.
Yeah.
Because you can't do that over the
It's
phone.
a big difference. I try to do that with my one son with the extensive CD collection that I have.
Right.
Because I was on the radio and every CD that came out was free. So I have a ridiculous amount of CDs for 10 years of doing broadcast radio.
So much
like just
promo
some of them are still in the plastic because somebody just handed it to me. I was like, yeah, I'll get to that eventually. I never got to it. So he got this massive CD collection in the stereo, but he doesn't do what you're saying because I think that the record is far more involved.
Yeah.
That
It
it's going to, like, he tried it, but it was the same as listening to digital music. But the
Yep.
record kind of gives you a very different experience.
It does. It really does. Go ahead, jump
No,
in.
go ahead.
So then let's go kind of fast forward to a little bit more. Then all of a sudden what happens, and we heard this years and years ago, we're going back about a decade now, Christmas. Christmas is a big time for all of this to kind of interject. So you have the grandparents or the parents that are like, I don't understand why my kids are into this. Wait until after Christmas, then come and talk to us. We've had this almost every single year. After Christmas is over. So normally about mid-January we start to see this filter in. But Christmas, what happens? These grandparents and parents all are around their grandkids or their kids. They're opening up their brand new record players. They're opening up their records, and all of a sudden they put on a Christmas album. Well, guess what? grandma and grandpa were listening to the same ones that the parents were listening to, and now the kids are listening to it, and they're like, wow, this is amazing. How did you find this? And they start interjecting, and all of a sudden there's this thing that happens called conversations again. Whereas...
Don't say.
Right, I know. It's amazing. The kids aren't going... Right. There's not dead silence.
What you're telling me is get your kid a record player.
Get your kid a record player.
Get your kid a record player. Get him over here to the record shop on 95th.
I'm gonna
They have them over here. I don't have them on the camera. You have a stack of record players for sale over here.
We do, and I'm gonna give a shout out. Backgrooves Audio. We have been carrying for years and years and years. These guys are amazing. Their actual products are literally made the way that they should be and that they used to be. They're literally hardwired to just be amazing record players.
Good sound.
Yeah, great sound, great quality. Thank you guys at Backgrooves. Just letting you know.
That's awesome. Okay, so my advice to everybody, get over to the record shop on 95th.
Please.
Say hi to Jeff and Jessica. It's a brand new business here in Evergreen Park. It's across from the Pearl. What again? Intersection? What intersection is this?
Right between, intersection.
It's on 95th.
Well, you're in between Kedzie and Pulaski. Let's go.
That's a little big.
I know.
That's a little big.
Central and Clifton.
Okay,
So
there you
Central
go.
and Clifton.
Right in there, okay?
Right.
Stop on in, and again, some of these purchases are going to be a couple of bucks, or you could just browse, talk records, kind of go back on memory lane. I think that if you're looking for something for Christmas and you're sick and tired of just going on Amazon or looking at what should I get somebody list, this might be a stop, and I think you'll enjoy yourself. I
hope so.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for letting us see it.
Thank you.
Guys. You have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, and have a Happy New Year as well.
It's the EP Podcast. All things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.